Welcome to the show, ladies and gentlemen. I am your host, your girl, the one and only Tiffany E, aka Sex9 TV2, and I am here to give you guys all of the tea when it comes to wrestling and maybe a little bit of odds and ends in between there. So why don't you go ahead, go get your snacks, go get your juice, go get you a good drink, a good glass of wine if you can drink it. If you're underage, don't be drinking, okay? Go on and get you some juice or something and sit back and listen as we kiki and holler about wrestling. Because over here, you get a plethora of things when it comes to my show, okay? You get wrestling commentary.
No benefit of the doubt. Dr. Phil say don't do that. Dr. Phil say when somebody show you who they are, and so did Maya Angelou, believe them. Them two hoes are snakes. They've been snakes, and them hoes was like that when you got there, and they like that now, so fuck them both. And they did the right thing by letting them headline WrestleMania. They most definitely deserve to headline WrestleMania. And that is how you close a mania.
What else we get? You'll also get a weekly recap of every single show that WWE has to offer. Monday Night Raw after show, NXT after show, and of course a Friday Night SmackDown after show. You'll also get a recap of all the Big 5 PLEs. I even do the Saudi shows for you. And then, if it's good and worth the time, I may even throw a little AEW in there. But of course, I will do my best to make sure I recap as many PLEs as possible. If I don't have it, then I'll throw it to one of my friends who do know it. We also cover pop culture, and we have really good time over here with lifestyle and just giving advice. So, if you're ready, it's showtime, and that is on the ancestors, baby. Alrighty then, top commenter of the day. Let's get it on out the way. We have Kayla, Nika, and Jonelle. Shout out to y'all for being top commenter of the day. So, we're going to make this very short and sweet. Alrighty. We're not going to keep you guys here long. Alright. So some of y'all may be coming in a little late. Hold tight. I got one more post to make. Hopefully it sticks. Oh, yeah. Oh, goodness. That's sad. All right, y'all. So let's get into it. Okay? So Monday Night Raw, it is over, ladies and gentlemen, and we got a few key factors to go over in this show. Okay? Number one, Jey Uso officially arrived on the Raw roster. And of course, he made sure. That's a mess. Of course, he made sure to be the one. They made sure to make sure Jey was the one who opened up the show. Sammy came out there to big up his former brethren and homeboy, and they hugged it out in the ring. And he told Jey Uso that him being on Monday Night Raw was not going to be an easy task. He made a lot of enemies in the last 3 years, and those enemies don't forgive easily. He's going to have to earn his respect on Monday Night Raw once again. And more importantly, he's going to have to watch his back. There are going to be some people who don't agree with Jey Uso being on Raw, but he personally wanted to be one of the first people to tell Jey Uso that he was proud of him and that he couldn't wait to see what he was going to do on the Raw roster on his own 2 feet. Hello, Marquise. How are you? So they hugged it out and everything was smooth, or so we thought, okay? Going into the back, of course, we got a couple of little tidbits later on that night. You see, Adam wanted to make sure he gave Jey Uso a heads up because Monday Night Raw got a pick, but SmackDown didn't get anything for the politicking that Cody Rhodes did. Or did they? You see, Cody said that he did and put in a few good, did a little bit of grunt work, did a little bit of elbow rubbing, a little grease talking. He tried his best to right a wrong he said was wrong, right? That's what we heard on Sunday. Then we saw Jey Uso, but nothing else was explained. They didn't tell us exactly what happened or how Cody came to get Jey Uso on the main roster in terms of on Monday Night Raw. They didn't say how, but I know exactly what he did. He put in the trade request and asked the officials to make sure that he was the one who got traded to Raw, to SmackDown, and Jey Uso was going to be sent to Monday Night Raw. It is the only thing that makes sense to me. All right? It's the only thing. Now, if I'm wrong, which I don't think that I am, I generally think that I'm right, okay? If I'm wrong, the only thing that I can think of that would happen in terms of righting this wrong and a trade happening would be that Cody somehow facilitated a trade and then it was like Randy Orton or somebody that pops up on SmackDown because Orton is a Raw wrestler and he hasn't come back yet. So that's the only thing I could think of. Other than that, it's got to be Randy. It has got to be Randy. Like, I can't think of anything else anybody else that it would be. I mean, it has to be Cody. I'm sorry. So, next week, Cody Rhodes is going to be on Monday Night Raw. And we'll just have to wait and see what Cody's going to say. But my mind is telling me that this is Cody's goodbye. And then that next Friday, he's officially going to be on SmackDown. They some real petty bitches for dragging this shit out. But it is what it is. Now let's do a little round robin, shall we? Okay. Because the Viking Raiders had their tag team tornado match with Drew McIntyre and Matt Riddle. And of course, they both have issues with the bloodline and everybody that's in it. So Drew McIntyre seeing Jey Uso on the roster was not a happy time for him. Neither was it for Matt Riddle. They both had their problems with both of those men. I mean, with that man. So it was standing the reason they was in their feelings for majority of that part of the show. They got to fight out the Viking Raiders, but then Kofi came out trying to help. He was trying to help. And he ended up inadvertently kicking Matt Riddle in the face. And this caused a lot of discord, which the Viking Raiders ended up using Kofi to take out Drew and then put Matt through a table. And that ended the match. It was a pin, 1, 2, 3. The match was over. Drew McIntyre wasn't a happy camper. He's already pissed that Jey Uso was on Monday Night Raw. And then on top of that, he feels like Kofi tried to get back at him for the accident that he produced last Monday when he threw a chair at Xavier Woods. Now, quite frankly, let's not play crazy, Drew. You know you wildly threw a chair that could have possibly hit anybody within the vicinity. You can't act as if yours was an accident and Xavier or Kofi's thing was intentional. Both of them were accidents. Get over it, all right? There are a lot of things I will accept from Drew McIntyre, but the disrespect to Kofi, I ain't accepting. You're going to get your shit together. Psychopath or not, okay? All right. Start no shit, won't be no shit. Okay? Anywhoosies, we had a couple matches in between there before we get to Gable and Gunther. Okay? Ooh. Chips. Okay. Former tag team champion Markel Rodriguez was like, I want my lick back. Dominic Mysterio cost me my championship and I want a rematch. Adam said, okay. The girl had a match with Chelsea tonight because Chelsea was in there popping off at the mouth and talking shit about Raquel. So Raquel said, since, you're talking a lot of shit, Adam said, obliged. Go on out there. You got a match right now. She was like, gracias. She went out there and basically decimated Chelsea because Chelsea didn't have her partner with her. And of course, Raquel is all on her own, her lonesome. All right. Now, we got that match out the way. Zoe Stark was in the back. She was having a little conversation with the backstage commentator. And of course, Shayna Baszler came up to her and was like, good on you for dropping that dead weight of Trish Stratus and moving into a new space in your career. I mean, just like me, I got rid of Ronda and I was able to move forward, and now you're able to move forward. And Zoe was like, she said, I feel like you and I have some unfinished business. So why don't we just go ahead and finish that business? It's going to be you and me tonight. And then we can really see who's the baddest woman in the WWE. And Shayna was like, bitch, I see you out there. And it's always was like, okay. So the girls went out there and had one of the best matches of the night, if not the best match of the night. I will say it was second to Gunther and Chad's match. Their match was fire. It was fun. It was high octane. But ultimately, Zoe could not best Shayna Baszler and that damn chokehold. Shayna Baszler choked her out in the middle of the ring, and because she could not respond to the ref's commands, the ref called the match. So Zoe lost. But Shayna did give her respect when the match was over. She told her, hey, at least you did better than Ronda Rousey. And I guess that was a compliment. So the girls will be girls, I guess. I don't know. Hello, Tears. How are you? She said, I have risen. The levels of tired that I am from this weekend is criminal. Oh, I hope you had a good weekend, though. I know things was a little bit rocky this past Friday, but I hope everything worked out in the end. All right. Let us move on. Because we had a segment with Seth freaking Rollins. You see, Seth came there and he was not medically cleared to be there. There was no match scheduled for Seth. And like I said, he wasn't scheduled to be there. Seth came out there and was heading out to the ring. He called out Shinsuke Nakamura, even after having a conversation with Adam and Ricochet interfering and telling Adam, listen, he was telling Seth, he said, Seth, look, you do not have to take hold the whole company on your back like this. You have help. You need to let us work with you and not against you. He was like, look, I'm fine. Don't worry about it. It's cool. He goes out there, he calls out Shinsuke, and Shinsuke come out, he says what he says in Japanese, and then Seth is like, I'm not even going to try to pretend like I understood what you said, but I'm assuming that you're accepting my challenge, and Shinsuke Nakamura was like, no. He was like, I'm sorry, what? Excuse me? He said, no. He said, what? He said, no. He said, are you serious? He said, no. He said, yes, accept my challenge. Shinsuke said, no, I refuse. He said, you know what? Fuck this. I'm done asking. So he went out there and attacked the man. Both of them in there scrapping and fighting like some rabid dogs, okay? It took all the security and Adam's wide-hipped ass to come out there, but it was after Shinsuke had already started whacking on his bike. And I'm just like, Adam, your big ass just standing there letting them whoop his ass. You know the man is not cleared to fight. It took everybody back there, including Ricochet, to get this man back. And Ricochet and him started fighting, so it led to a match between Ricochet and Shinsuke Nakamura. For the best part, it was a good match. But once Shinsuke started feeling like he was losing and wasn't going to get the upper hand, he bust Ricochet in the back with a damn chair and started beating his ass. Seth come out there, stops the fight. They get into it again, and Shinsuke weasels his way out of there after he attacks Seth back again. It just ended up in a massive fight and a brawl between them that it didn't have to go to. Now, if you didn't see when the show started, Seth ended up getting attacked after Payback went off the air. Shinsuke attacked him. Shinsuke Nakamura is in his true villain era right now, and it is scary, okay? Now that we got that out the way, let's talk about Judgment Day. Judgment Day was in the back. At first, they was out front. They was talking their shit, popping off at the gums and how they got all the gold now. They're all dominant. They're the overseers of Monday Night Raw because nobody can touch them. Blah, 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 bullshit. Okay. That's when JD McDonough came out there and said, listen, I'm not trying to stand on your shine. I'm just trying to come out there and help. He came out there and he said, listen, you gotta get rid of your briefcase. It's the only way that y'all gonna come together as a team. You gotta get rid of that briefcase. And he was like, see, I was just starting to like you until you start opening your fucking mouth. And then JD was like, that's because you need this one. And he presents him with a purple briefcase that says Senior Money in the Bank on it. And of course, they're all in awe and all happy and cheesing and having a good time. And this, they licking he's licking our ass the way we like now. We love this good ass licking we're getting. It's real. It feels real good on the bowels. This don't sound familiar to y'all. This don't look familiar. It don't feel familiar. Because about a year or so ago, this is the very same thing that was happening with Sami Zayn and the Bloodline. Rinse and repeat. Rinse and repeat. Only this time, it's not going to be JD McDonough that defects. More than likely, it will be Damian Priest. You mark my motherfucking words. It's either going to be Damian or it's going to be Rhea Ripley. One of the two. But somebody is going to out themselves from Judgment Day because they're not going to be able to handle what JD McDonough is going to be bringing down. See, JD McDonough had to prove himself according to the group members. And JD McDonough interjected himself into some mess that, Sami Zayn was talking about. Sami knows that Dominic Mysterio was the reason why they lost their titles last Saturday. So, Sami challenged Dom to a match. Dom didn't accept. JD McDonough accepted. And so they had their match. JD McDonough was able to beat Sami Zayn all on his lonesome. And he won. And of course, he proved himself to the Judgment Day. And they're all in the back. Now, before the match started, they all was like, hey, JD McDonough was the reason why we won the championships. He was part of the reason why. And I can't say that if he wasn't there, we would be champions right now. And Damian Priest agreed. And Rhea Ripley was like, okay, well, if he's going to be a part of this, he has to prove himself. He can't just jump in. Well, y'all just jumped in. None of y'all proved yourself. Well, I mean, y'all did. Y'all helped out Edge in both of his matches. I think one of them was with AJ Styles, and the other one was against Finn, I think. I guess, whatever. And then Dominic was jumped in because he pretty much took out his own daddy to be a part of this group. So, yeah, sure. I mean, if that's all he had to do was to beat up Sami Zayn, then that's a piss poor proving ground. But sure, whatever works for you. Now, all of a sudden, they're all a big family and everybody's happy. So, yeah, gay sex Congress, whatever. Jey Uso was running around in the back, and of course, a lot of people are not happy that Jey Uso's there. And Rhea Ripley sends an order down through Dom that he needs to go talk to Jey Uso. And we see him talking to Jey Uso, and essentially he's just like, you don't have anybody who's on your side. Everybody hates you because of what y'all did with the bloodline. So he was like, you can come over here and chill with us. I done fucked up my family. You got fucked over in your family. You know what I'm saying? And we got a whole family of misfits over here. Join the misfits. You feel me? So he laid it on real thick to Jey Uso and basically was like, you ain't got nobody. You ain't got shit. You gonna be here by yourself. And if you don't join up with somebody, things could get real rough around here for you. So you need to consider it. You know what I'm saying? I'm here if you need me. Whatever. So Jey Uso looked like he was considering it, but he a damn fool. You do not leave one group to join another, babe. Let them be where they at, and you do you over here, and they do them over there. Okay? Now, we had 2 women's matches. We had an interaction in the backstage. What am I missing? Oh, Demiz. Okay, look. I don't know about y'all, but that whole thing with Miz, I get with himself. I get it. John Cena, you can't see me. Whatever. I'm all for it. Live your best life, babe. But it was a little cringy for me. I wasn't the biggest fan of it, and I felt like it was a long segment that was unnecessary. Hello. It was a long segment that was unnecessary, and and quite frankly, this that could have been done in like a vignette or something. I don't know. I'm just not a big fan of it, and it was just weird. He was very upset. I knew he was gonna be upset, and I knew he was gonna blame John Cena for him losing his match against LA Knight. I knew he was gonna do that. So I kind of figured this was coming. I didn't think it was gonna be like this. I mean, he could have just came out there and had a segment instead of having a whole show where he talks to himself, basically, and then pretends to take out John Cena. It was just weird. It was so weird to me, and I was just like, "Oh goodness, all right then, you know, live your best life, I guess. Whatever makes you happy." But it was just odd. It was an odd thing to watch, and I just didn't understand what was happening in front of me. And I got the "you can't see me" joke, but it was just like the joke ran way too long. Anyways, he seems to be pissed, and I guess he vowing revenge because after a while, I just turned the sound down and stopped listening. So I don't know what he's gonna do or why we had to suffer through that, but it is what it is. Now let's get to the meat and potatoes. The best match of the night: the amazing, incomparable Gunta against Chad Gable. Now I thought that by Monday, Chad Gunter would have hit his mark in terms of him being the longest reigning champion, intercontinental champion of all time. And unfortunately, he did not hit that mark. He wasn't going to hit that mark until after he beat Chad Gable. So all night they have been running former intercontinental champions from Kofi to Miz to Cody Rhodes himself to um Roman Reigns, uh, just so many former Intercontinental champions, Bobby Lashley, um, Wade Barrett himself. Like there were so many former champions, Booker T, the Honky Tonk Man, obviously, Pat Patterson, uh, who else? Uh, so many people were Intercontinental champion. It was so many people. They said on today that he after he beat Chad Gable that he's the longest reigning champion. In a week, yeah, he officially hit the mark, but it's a done deal. It's not gonna change after a week. So they've already given him the moniker. Are we good now? All right. Now, this match between these two was a hard fought battle. Chad Gable had him at every turn. Everything that he was trying to do, he could not get that shit off without Chad Gable coming up with some kind of rebuttal. He had a counter for everything that his ass was trying to do. He was tearing him apart. Okay. And for the most part, Chad Gable almost beat him. But unfortunately, there was just a tiny misstep towards the end, and he just could not beat Gunther, and he was beaten, and basically Gunther was able to retain his title tonight on Monday Night Raw. Them babies that was in the front though, his babies, them girls was distraught. I mean, she was calling to her daddy, and it just them babies was distraught, honey. Distraught that they daddy lost. crying tears. Their mama was holding them, trying to keep them together. Baby, them babies was hurting and I was hurting for them, okay? But ultimately, Gunther is the longest reigning Intercontinental Champion of all time. And Chad Gable just came up just a little bit short. He was just a hair short of ruining all of Gunther's hard work. I feel bad for Chad, but I'm not surprised because I knew that they were going to give him this title. I mean, after they done gave him the title, he done had it for this long. It just didn't make sense to make him go through all that trouble and only to drop it a week short of actually beating the record. It just didn't make sense. So kudos to them for being able to pull through and have the longest reigning champ of all time, longest reigning Intercontinental Champion of all time. He was able to do it on 2 shows, might I add. Okay. Started out on SmackDown, ended on Raw. He was very successful at what he did. So what's next for Gunther? I don't know. We'll have to wait and see till next week. Notable absences. Becky Lynch and Trish Stratus were not at Monday Night Raw this week. I suspect, however, that Becky might be showing up in NXT. You see, every match that Becky has had ever since Tiffany Stratton mentioned Becky in her little weak ass promo, she's shown up and made herself known. So now it's only fair that Becky returns the favor. I suspect that Becky Lynch will probably show up at NXT tomorrow. Tiffany Stratton has a title defense against Kiana James tomorrow, and I highly doubt that she drops that championship to her. We'll wait and see how that plays out. But Tiffany Stratton has made it very clear that she wants to go up against Becky Lynch by always bringing up her name, always causing a lot of turmoil and drama. So I suspect that Becky will pop up in NXT. I mean, it's fine, Tiff versus Becky. I just don't want Becky to win the title. I don't see why not. Why can't Becky win the title? I'll wait. Anyways, tomorrow we got a couple matches set for NXT. All right. You got fuck ass Kiana going up against Tiffany. Von Wagner and Braun Breaker are going to be in a no DQ match. Cute. And of course, Dragunov and Mustafa are going to be in a match, and the special guest referee is going to be none other than your North American champion, Dominic Mysterio. And just so you can see it, in case you don't trust me, I wouldn't mind seeing Becky Lynch as the NXT Women's Champion. That's one championship she has not working. You mean not had? Still waiting on that answer, Melina. Anyways, like I said, NXT tomorrow is supposed to have 3 marquee matches. You're going to have Dragon Lee, going up against Mustafa. Special guest referee is going to be Dirty Dom. Brian Breaker is supposed to go up against Von Wagner in a no disqualifications match. And you're going to have Tiffany Stratton. She's being challenged by Kiana James. She's going to be going up against her for the NXT Women's Championship. I take that back and give her the title so Tiff can elevate herself some more, because as much as I love Tiff, she botches a lot with her promos. I'm asking you a legitimate question. You can answer it however you want to. You don't need to take it back because of me. It's sick because Dom was really making sense. Yeah, but at the same time, it's bullshit. They just don't want to have him lingering out there as another problem that they have to worry about. That they could possibly have him join up against Sammy. But he's not going to join up against them. He'd be a fool to do so. After the toxicity he just came across with the bloodline, what the fuck does he look like going and joining up with Judgment Day? He'd be the first person they turn on. I wouldn't do it. All right. So the girl and I are going to be recording the podcast tomorrow, which means this week the podcast is going to be out a little early. We're going to probably put that podcast up Wednesday. All right. So be on the lookout for that, because we're going to cover everything. We're going to talk about All Out. We're going to talk about Phil, because that's what's popping right now, apparently. So we're obligated to talk about it. But to give ourselves a little bit more, something more fun to look forward to and to talk about, let's talk about Impact a little bit and their next pay-per-view, which is coming Friday. I believe it is. So Impact has a PLE called Victory Road. All right. Let me make sure I get the right thing up there. Yeah, it's on Friday. So Victory Road is on Friday, and there are several matches that we have to look out for when it comes to Victory Road. Okay. So number one, the X Division Championship is on the line. Lio Rush will be challenged by Kushida for the title. Kushida won the right to challenge Lio Rush with the Ultimate X match that he competed in at Slammiversary. And so he is going to be challenging him for that X Division Championship. There's another Ultimate X match happening at Impact 1000, which leads me to believe that there's going to be somebody else who can also challenge for that championship. I don't know who's going to be in that match. They haven't announced that yet, but it is happening. All right. Kenny King is being challenged by Tommy Dreamer. Kenny King is putting up his digital media championship. And of course, Tommy Dreamer is putting up his career. Bully Ray is challenging PCO in an anything goes match. So if you care, these two old men are going to be fighting on TV. Deonna Purrazzo and Jordan Grace are facing off. The reason why these two are going at it is because, one, Deonna Purrazzo was pissed off that she lost again to Trinity Fatu. This is the first time that Deonna Purrazzo has lost twice to somebody in a row. And somebody beating her twice doesn't sit well with her. Not to mention that Jordan Grace made it a point to let everybody know that she was coming back to Impact right before her and Trinity's match. And Deonna took offense to that. She felt like Jordan was encroaching on her territory, and she don't like that shit. She knows for a fact she can beat Jordan Grace. So she challenged that woman to a match at Victory Road. And this is going to be the first match that Jordan Grace has back in Impact since the last match she had against Deonna Purrazzo. Now, the Rascals are going to be taking on the Motor City Machine Guns. For whatever reason, Alex Shelley is not defending his championship at Victory Road. I would imagine he will be defending it at Bound for Glory. But we're going to leave it there. The Motor City Machine Guns and the Rascals have a little bit of a tisk going on here. Trey Miguel and Zachary Wentz are going at their necks for not being able to win their match at Emergence, and of course still being stuck in their little feuds with Leo Rush and, of course, Josh Alexander. Now they've been acting like little brats, teasing and getting people all ruffled under their feathers. So the Motor City Machine Guns have decided to pull their tag team back together and go after those tag team titles once again. So the Rascals are going to be facing off against the Motor City Machine Guns at Victory Road. Got two more matches. Alicia Edwards stole her right to become the number one contender for the Knockouts World Championship. Her and her Craterfield face are going up against Trinity Fatu. Now, Trinity has defended her title twice on major pay-per-views for Impact and has been able to retain. I highly doubt that Alicia Edwards will be the one to take this title away from Trinity, especially since Jordan Grace is back. And I suspect that at Bound for Glory, it's going to be Jordan Grace versus Trinity for the Knockouts World Championship. But we're going to have to wait and see how that plays out. Yes? All right. It smell like Deanna going to lose again. Might. She might. It wouldn't be surprising if Deanna lost. It'd be a good pickup for Jordan Grace since she's never beat the woman. But, sure. And the final match, well, Trinity's match might headline the show again, but I'm not sure of how they're going to do it. But this match between Josh Alexander and Steve Maclin has been in the making for quite some time. When Josh Alexander was injured, Steve Maclin was set to become the Impact World Champion. And of course, Josh Alexander had to relinquish the title due to his injury. Steve Maclin took that upon himself to call the man a coward and to take him out and disrespect him, his wife, and his son. And Josh Alexander ain't never forgotten. In fact, it has been stuck in his head since he had to relinquish that championship. And not only that, he had to sit at home and watch his title be carried and held by none other than Steve Maclin himself. But karma's a bitch. When you say and do things, the universe has a way of paying you back. Steve Maclin ended up suffering an injury himself that took him out of commission. Not only that, but Alex Shelley took that title from him very, very easily and quickly. Steve Maclin's reign didn't last as long as he thought it would. Not only that, but he made a lot of enemies in the back. And everybody seems to be not so caring towards Steve Maclin, with the exception of, Bully Ray. With all that being said, Steve Maclin made it a point to come back at Emergence and cost Josh Alexander and his team their win over Bully Ray's team. He took out Josh Alexander and attempted to destroy his arm before the guards was able to pull him back. And now, Josh Alexander has made a beeline for Steve Maclin. And it's going to be Steve Maclin versus Josh Alexander at Victory Road. And they're going to end this feud once and for all. And then, after that, it's more than likely going to be Josh Alexander versus Alex Shelley at Bound for Glory for the Impact World Heavyweight Championship. And that, my friends, is the end. Yeah. Hello, how are you? I think Impact should just have their women headline all their pay-per-views because their women's division is actually really good. Okay. Anything else I need to cover? Because if there is nothing else, then your girl is going to be Owski. Monday Night Raw was not a long show to cover. It didn't really have a lot going on, but it gave you just enough to get over that hump, okay? So y'all let me know if there's anything else I need to cover. Nothing? Okay. With all that being said, y'all make sure that y'all tune in to Victory Road over on Impact. It comes on Friday, September 8th. You can watch it on Impact Plus, or you can watch it over on the Impact Insiders, which is over on YouTube. I really, really want you guys to go and watch that because it's fun and it's a really good show, and it's definitely something that you guys should be looking into. All right. Also, tomorrow is NXT. Okay, y'all can head on over to NXT tomorrow, and I'll be in here late after NXT because I have a podcast I have to do. So, just so y'all know, I might be a little late to cover NXT tomorrow. All right. And as always, I will give you guys the next set of pay-per-views leading up until WrestleMania, and then we're going to be done for the night. Okay. So NXT has No Mercy coming up. It is coming up September 30th. It's at the end of the month. So they're going to be building up matches and title shots heading into No Mercy. All right. Main roster wise, the next PLE is in October, and it is Fastlane, and it's on a Saturday. It's coming from Indianapolis. All right. They're going to be building up feuds for that as well. I think next week, Liv Morgan is going to return after Rhea Ripley beats Raquel Rodriguez. And they're probably going to lean into that. I don't know exactly what they're going to do with Shayna Baszler or Zoe Stark, but those are two women who also could possibly be one of the next contenders for Rhea Ripley's championship if they're going to do this in order. I think they're going to wean out Shayna Baszler until you get to Mania, and then they're probably going to have her compete for it at Mania, have her take that title off of Ripley, and then move on with Shayna Baszler as champ. At least that's what I would do. I don't know about y'all. You got a lot going on with Shinsuke Nakamura and Seth freaking Rollins. So I believe that Seth Rollins and Shinsuke are going to go at it again at Fastlane, and they're probably going to end up battling. And I don't know which way this could go, but if it were me and I were Triple H, I would have Shinsuke take that title off of Seth at Fastlane and let that be what it is. And Seth can go home and rest for a little while and get his back to full health, and he can re-debut at the Royal Rumble, in my opinion. And I think he would get a huge pop coming back, and it'd be a nice thing to start and have him go up against Shin, possibly at Mania. And maybe he can get his championship back and then drop it to somebody else a few months later. Now, we got that out the way. Io Sky did not defend her title at the pay-per-view last month or last night, a few weeks ago. So this past Saturday, or the Saturday before last, so a few weeks ago is more accurate. So Io Sky probably is going to end up having a challenge at Fastlane, and it more than likely can be Charlotte, or maybe Asuka will return and she'll be the one to challenge. As of right now, Bianca Belair is not scheduled to be at any of those shows per se. So for now, we're in a place where Bianca isn't the one that you're going to see just yet. I think that Bianca is going to be the one to challenge later on, and when she gets back, she's going to be the one to dismantle Damage Control. And she already did it once before. So maybe they'll go and deal with Charlotte for a little while, and that'll be where they rest at for a little bit. The Intercontinental Championship is solidified in history as of right now. Walt Gunther is the longest reigning Intercontinental Champion of all time. And it's going to be a long time before somebody actually beats that record. With all that being said, who is next could challenge for this title? You got a couple of people who could. I mean, if we're going with people who have never held championships before, you could go back to Chad Gable and give that title to him, or you can give it to Jey Uso, or you can give it to Xavier. You could double back to Xavier, or you can give it to Sammy or Kevin. There's a lot of different avenues you can go with this Intercontinental Championship. Personally, my pick would probably be Chad Gable to go back to that match for Fastlane, or I would do like a number one contenders match again and have Jey Uso compete in it and let Jey Uso take that title off of Gunther at Fastlane. But, you know, she said Phil still ain't responding to my DM. It's all right if he ain't responded. No, it's not on Twitter. So we got a lot of different ways that this can go going into Fastlane. Another person that was absent on Monday Night Raw was Kevin Owens. Kevin Owens was not there as well as Becky and Trish. Um, so I wonder how this is going to work out with Kevin next week with Sammy and everything that he did with the with Jay Uso today. Um, it was about time for Kevin and Sammy to split. So I'm curious as to what they're gonna do with them being on the main roster. Um, I don't know. It's a lot that wiggle room that they have here with Fastlane. Moving into November, they usually have Crown Jewel in November, so that might be put out in a couple weeks. After Fastlane, they may start advertising for Crown Jewel. And then, of course, Survivor Series is always a couple weeks later. It is on November 25th, and they're going to be in Chicago. Now, Chicago is going to be a hostile place for a lot of people, given the fact that Phil has left AEW and has soured his chances of ever probably returning to AEW. One has to consider that there's a possibility that he could show up in WWE. And what better time to blow up the internet and tear up the world than for have CM Punk show up at Survivor Series in his own hometown, when he couldn't show up at All Out or Collision. With all that being said, I will get into all of that when we do our podcast tomorrow, and you guys can listen on Wednesday and hear everything that we have to say about Phil and everything that has to do with AEW. Y'all make sure y'all tune in because it's going to be something interesting to listen to. I am going to go because I'm starting to ramble and I don't want to be on here anymore because I'm tired. So I hope y'all have a good day, and I will see you guys tomorrow after NXT.